The beautiful chaos of UFL. What exactly does that mean? Well, if you know the history of this game, right, it is the newest of the three major football games out of FC, formerly FIFA, eFootball, formerly PES, and UFL, always been UFL, right? You have EA Sports, Konami, and Strikers, respectively, as the development companies, and the other two games have been around over 30 years and have shown a great ability to bring us good football stuff, right? From gameplay to menu stuff, modes, everything like that, stuff that has captured our memories and also gotten us pretty close to addicted to football games, right? If not fully addicted to football games. And then many times they've gotten us into just pure rage because of the nonsense that they add into the games, the glitches, the stuff that slips by that they take forever to remove, just all the negative stuff that sometimes is, maybe an honest mistake, but many times is centered around greed. eFootball, I think, has the biggest story that revolves around greed because that game could be truly incredible. When you look at how close to the beautiful game their simulator got and where the gameplay is instead because eFootball, Konami felt that they needed to be a game that everyone could play. Lower skilled players could pick up and compete with the more skilled players, and so they just totally destroyed the game to the point where every rat loser out there will love to play eFootball because there's so much AI assistance, which leads to a ton of different shortcuts and people abusing that AI assistance that it's not even football anymore, right? You're not competing with someone. The best footballer is not going to win many times unless you just completely abandon football. And FC has a little bit of this as well over the years, sometimes worse than others, right? After FC 25, which was the worst game in their franchise history, they did make some improvements because the player base spoke up. But after years of just going down the wrong path over and over and over again, they're just too lost. So the game, it feels empty. That magic feeling that we all used to love about FIFA, now FC obviously, it's just gone. And you're seeing more and more of the top creators talk about this. It might hurt their channels, it might hurt how many viewers they get because nobody wants to play a dead game. And when you have people making all this money to play and have fun, even they say the game is torture to play, it's not good. Many times that will be the thing that people need to just say, you know what, this game isn't worth it. So, unfortunately, in many ways, UFL has followed suit with Strikers going down wrong direction after wrong direction. Many of the patches that they've came out with have actually made the game worse. They've gone down a total AI buff. Then they've gone down trying to fix the overpowered AI to only break other areas of the game. And so what you have now is a game full of glitches, shortcuts, whatever you want to call it, right? The crosses that are all but automatic goals, the certain 60-yard shots from angles where that all but guarantees you goals. Same with certain finesse shots, the odd angle shots to the side of the six that would never go in. There's players that will perfectly cross the ball at an angle where the goalkeeper does the same punching animation and drops the ball right to an attacking midfielder for an easy tap in. And there's nothing you can do about these glitches, right? Besides, try to close them down with your defender and prevent it. But even that is not a total fix because the defense lacks enough true animations, true defensive football animations to be able to consistently stop opposing attackers no matter how good defensively you are. So that is the chaos part. As you see in this game here, it is a perfect example with glimpses of what this game could be with the ability to play great football and score great goals, right? And play a wide open game where you can use any tactics, and as long as you're solid and know how to use those tactics, you can have success. And then, unfortunately, there's just a little too much, and that's being nice, of all that shortcut stuff I just talked about. Now, I found that the most success in UFL is going to come from mixing both skilled football and the ability to know how to both shut down and utilize the ratty non football nonsense. Now, it's the sheer amount of these nonsense goals that you can score that make UFL widely considered a joke of a game. And these kinds of things have no doubt cost this game many of the players that they just recently gained, right? So, one of the biggest misconceptions is that this is a brand new game. Give them some time because it's been in development for about a decade now, maybe even a little over a decade now. It just came to market recently, brand new to the market, but not development. So they've had plenty of time, years and years, to test out all the different ways that this game could be improved and to remove all the things that somehow still remain in the game, which makes you think Strikers is just incompetent. Now, they did a great job with the marketing. They still do a great job with the customization and things like that. But for example, going to off the pitch nonsense, the fact that they released a skin system and then totally just scrapped it. The fact that they wouldn't have tested that over a decade to be able to see that it was going to die out and players were going to run out of things to do as far as, developing their team, maxing out at 91, only adding skills and seeing how quickly you could do that, seeing how much it kills the ability to keep changing players because you work so hard to boost these players and get them these certain skills. But the problem is when you take away the team building factor and then you take away the fact that there's not many modes, right? So players can't just play different modes to add a variety, a different feel to break up the monotony. And then you add in all the nonsense on the pitch too. It's too much for many to consider this a truly, competitive football game, especially with FCNE football. But for me, because those other games have been on the market for so long and continue to have the nonsense, continue to make all these decisions based around greed. That's what it all comes down to, really. And they haven't fixed this stuff. So you have all these abilities in these games, all these improvements, but they're mixed in with this trash, and the development companies never learn. So the player bases are stuck with a game that could be so much better than it is. Now, that is the same case with UFL, no doubt. The kind of header that you just saw could easily be nerfed. They've had like 7 different header metas where it's just ridiculous, where a non-skilled player can get destroyed the whole time but just play a ball down the wing, press square, without any even like measurement of like the power of the cross, manually choosing the attacker to get them in good position. You literally just get to the side where you can cross, press square, and it's almost an auto goal in many different scenarios, right? And there's a lot of these different types of things. Not having to break down the defense at all, but just getting to a certain spot and hitting a 50-yard shot with a certain player all but guarantees you a goal. And so Strikers no doubt deserves the scrutiny for all this nonsense that they can't remove from the game, but the fact that these other games have all this nonsense too, and UFL still has more of an unpolished feel to it, as well as the addition of things like ability perks, which they've done very good with. There's some nonsense ability perks without a doubt that are OP and that just don't fit. Like when you have a Valverde card that is the only CM who gets back defensively and covers that unnatural gap between the center mids and the defense, that's just ridiculous. That's a positioning error in the game that many players should just automatically have because as CMs, they're more box to box as opposed to a true number 6 defensive mid or like a kind of number 10 attacking mid. There's players like Valverde, Bellingham that can essentially get up and down the pitch, or like let's say they added a legend like Seedorf, right? But the fact that only one player in the whole game amongst all the box-to-box players in the world currently in Legendary, only Valverde has this ability based on a perk, that's crazy, right? Then you have things like the ability to click the right stick and manually control your keeper, but at a super fast pace. It almost adds that NBA Jam type of feel to it, which in that case, there's an appeal there, right? And so then when you look at, okay, you can still do some great passing patterns, and then you look at the game more from that arcade route that largely FC feels like, but without the seriousness of all the capabilities, right? That make it more realistic, more manual controlled. Now this becomes a more fun game that you can let loose, play some football, but you know there's going to be some nonsense. So that's where the beautiful part comes in. There's this crazy, like, addicting feeling in this game that's similar but different than that magical feeling that got us addicted to these games, all these years. That feeling was more like bringing our love for football onto the sticks and doing a good job of recreating why we love this sport. This kind of addictive feeling when you play UFL is more of the challenge of solving the puzzle of this crazy game, right? Trying to shut down an opponent from even crossing the ball to get those automatic goals, and anticipating when they're going for those certain finesse shots or those 50-yard shots and stopping them, and then being able to either A, score those types of goals yourself, outsmarting your opponent when they know you're going for these certain things, and then also adding in those beautiful give and goes, up, back, and throughs in certain goals like that, where you take pride in the fact that you could score these, not like with these nonsense ways every time, but you also had the ability to make some beautiful football plays and score some beautiful goals in a game where that's hard to do. So if you're going to have all this nonsense that ruins football and you're going to have to deal with all this rat BS in every football game anyways, then you might as well create a challenge out of it and play the football game where you're going to have the most fun and where it all just fits better, rather than having a game that somewhat makes sense, that somewhat has these realistic moments, and then these other areas just ruin it, where you're playing but the better, more skilled player that should win doesn't win. At least UFL, it's sort of its own game. More similar to a Rocket League, where you mix in these elements of real football, but with that total arcade NBA Jam sort of feel, that, of course, with a certain even ability perks, right, that are purposely added, but still have sort of a ridiculous feel, at least some of them, right? It's all part of that beautiful chaos that makes UFL, in my humble opinion, the best football game, just for reasons you wouldn't typically use to measure the best football game. But I want to know what you think in the comment section. Yes, I know the game can be ridiculous. Yes, I know all of the areas in which both FC and eFootball do a better job as far as bringing the beautiful game to the sticks. But do you agree that that beautiful chaos makes this the most fun game to play if you're going to have to deal with the rat nonsense? Or do you totally disagree? Either way, you leave what you think in the comments section. I love to hear your feedback, and make sure you like this video if it was enjoyable. And if you haven't, please subscribe. Join my Discord and check out the YouTube bio for ways that you can get perks while supporting the channel. Until next time, peace out.